negotiating your first job offer. If you already have meaningful employment, maybe you're working and studying, a lot of these tips are fully transferable to negotiating at an annual performance review. But since it is a group of students, I'd assume the majority are entering the workforce after graduation. And so we're kind of focusing on your first job offer today. So happy to be here today. These are topics I'm super passionate about, hence being here today. I do have a laptop here with a camera here, but then dual monitors, and I have my slides and notes over here. So I'm fully with you, but I'm just looking between screens. I've also, let's see, I'm just gonna get the chat box up for myself. I'm gonna do a quick poll. I'm curious if you've ever asked for more salary than what was offered to you. So if you do have more professional career experience already, maybe you've done this. If not, even hourly or seasonal jobs, let me know. Here we go. Okay, got the chat box open. So if you want to just say like number 1 and then say yes or no. Number 2, have you spoken to others about starting salary ranges? So this could be peers, mentors, friends or family, like what you might expect to get. Maybe a professor has been clear, or like an advisor of some sort has been clear of like what anticipated starting salaries might be. I'm curious to know that. And then number 3, and lastly, upon graduation, as of now, on the 14th of November, do you feel prepared to counter offer when you do get that new and exciting job offer? So if you want to say like 1, 2, and 3, yes, no, yes, whatever, go ahead and get the group chat. We're a small group, so if you're comfortable, just send the chat to everyone so we can all see. If you prefer not for everyone to see, you can just choose, sending it to Monica. We've got no, 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 yes, no. Well, I'm glad that you have spoken. Another no, yes, no. Cool. So today's a pretty entry-level talk about this, but hopefully I give you some really helpful tools for your toolbox to make you feel much more confident. Cool, we've got a yes. Yes, you do feel confident. That's fantastic. Great. Okay, so what I do is have this business based in Chicago, but it's online run, so I work with people all over. I help women, though I work with everyone. So I work with women, men, transgender, non-binary folks. If you have a marketing background, you probably know that from a business standpoint, it is advantageous to have a niche in your market. So while I work with everyone, you'll notice like my branding at the bottom there, the women profiles, because my niche is helping women. So today's talk is for everyone. Previous breakout sessions had more men than women. The men still liked it. So I'm talking to everyone today, but my business niche is helping women prepare for interviews, negotiate job offers, and negotiate existing salaries. I was also a Peace Corps volunteer, so I'm in a lot of different like Facebook groups for jobs for Peace Corps volunteers returning home. So a lot of my male clients come through there because we share this Peace Corps experience. And then I also coordinate an email newsletter. I have a blog on my website where I share stories and strategies. Just gonna drop, I'll do that at the end too, but just drop it in case you have to jump off for any reason. Here's some links to my blog, blah, blah, blah. My private Facebook group, free to join. So why do I do this work? The gender pay gap is real. I believe that it's real. I've had some TikTok videos go viral with well over 1 million views, which means thousands of comments on videos that I make about salary negotiation and the gender pay gap, which means that there are some internet trolls finding me, arguing that the pay gap is not real, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. It's real. I've got statistics to show it in a minute. So also, I think that we need to talk about money more often, but culturally, and this is around the world because I work with a lot of clients in other countries, culturally, it's a very taboo topic. We're not talking about this openly with our immediate peers, even our immediate family members. We're not really talking about how much money we're making or, how much money should I be making? So I created this business. The business is just my name, Monica Rockstroth, just this online consultancy to establish a turf for us to come and talk about money, and salaries, pay gap, workplace issues, etc. So let's start off with just a few statistics. Later in, we'll dive into my negotiation techniques and walk you through negotiating a job offer. But just some depth as to why I do this work. Women are earning less than a man on average, and the wage gap is even greater for women of color. I'm a water resource scientist by training. I like numbers, so I've pulled, this is from the US Census. I've just pulled some statistics here for us to start out with. Yeah, and unfortunately the pay gap is much worse for women of color. So here we see percentages of women compared to white and non-Hispanic men's wages, and the vast disparities that we see here. I should say this is a US-based data set, so I do apologize if you don't see yourself represented here. I know even if you're from the US, these graphs are not always fully inclusive. This is the best graph I could find showing this for this presentation. And then my last graph before we dive into more details is just the pay gap throughout the years. So here's a little more detail looking at the pay gap from the 1960s through now and future projections. So from the 60s up until 2018, the trend was showing the pay gap closing in 2059, not too far away, 39 years. However, if we look now, sadly, from 2001 to 2018, the projected pay equality isn't on track to be obtained until 2093, like 73 years from now. I will be 106 and hopefully living off of retirement money and not earning a wage anymore. So we have work to do. This should inspire especially women to negotiate salaries, help close this gender pay gap, should inspire men to make sure that their female peers are getting paid equally, that men are offering jobs a fair start, or offering jobs with a fair starting salary. And this applies to everyone here. So 70% of managers expect you to negotiate your salary and benefits when they're making an offer. Of course, they are not explicitly saying this. They're not saying, here's some money, let us know if you want more. They're not saying that. They are offering you, the lowest number to not insult you, that maybe you'll take a bite on. But there's probably more money in the pot that they're not offering you. So, if 100 men are offered a job, 46 out of those 100 are negotiating. More than half aren't. If 100 women are being offered a job, only 34 out of those are negotiating, and all the others are not. So, meanwhile, 70% of hiring managers are expecting this. So you're probably leaving money in a pot that could be yours. A typical woman's total retirement income is 70% of that of a typical man's. I think we live longer. We might need more money. So this includes Social Security benefits, pension plans, savings, and any other source of income. So your income dictates your retirement money. The less money you make, the less you have in your retirement funds. A little bit about who I work with, who I help. I work with people all over the world. These are just a handful of sample clients, the countries I've worked with people in. Again, it's an online consultancy, so most of my client calls are via phone, Skype, WhatsApp calls, and they're from all walks of life. The majority of my clients have a college education and are working in a more typical office environment, but I love working with non-traditional career paths, such as like a bartender wanting to break into being in the hotel concierge industry, or another past client was a restaurant server looking to get into catering management. And as I said earlier, I do work with men, non-binary, transgender people. My niche just happens to be women. So out of curiosity, where are you all today, and where, geographically, and where are you from? So I'll type in the box where my original hometown is and where I am today. Let's see where we all are on a map today. I was more tech inclined, I'd see your answers and be pinging them on a map here for us. But okay, so I personally am from East Aurora, New York. It's near Niagara Falls. And now I live in Naperville, which is just outside of Chicago. Someone in San Diego. Katie's also born there, from there, born there. So yeah, I'll keep flipping through, but let me know where you are today. San Francisco, born and raised here, but your family's from Russia. Very cool. Born and raised in San Francisco and in San Francisco now. Fantastic. Quick about me, so you know like where I'm coming from, where this advice is coming from. Again, born in Buffalo, New York. I'm 34 right now. I love Earl Grey tea. I don't like coffee. And my favorite hobby is entertaining. Pre-COVID times, I love connecting people. I love hosting brunch and dinner parties. Unfortunately, that's all on pause. Then in 2009 to 2015, this was quite a pivotal professional stage for me. I was living between New York, the state, not the city, northern Malawi, and Cape Town, South Africa. And I was moving routinely. So every time I had professional connections that could maybe help me get a good job or a better paying salary, I was leaving those behind, like moving somewhere brand new. So I had to work extra hard at interviewing and negotiating. So that's what kind of led me then in 2018 to launch this business. So I got pregnant. I decided to leave my day job in science and grow this business. This business was a side hustle for a while where I was doing it evenings and weekends while I was doing a science job during the day. Now I work full time for myself. And yep, living in the Chicago suburbs. My husband's born in Germany, raised in South Africa. We have a 1-year-old baby Lena, as I said in the beginning, coming in February. So yeah, it's all been quite chaotic with no childcare and, you know, not traveling to see family at the moment, but 2020 is a bit chaotic for everyone. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And today my goal is really to become a person that you trust to talk about money with, because we all need that. We all need people in our lives that we feel comfortable talking money with. So I hope that in this like half hour together, we get to that point. So to touch on branding a little bit, since this is a marketing club organization event today, I just want to say that personal branding can be important when you're job hunting, and it does not have to cost anything, but it can help you, you know, look professional and pulled together when a future boss is Googling you. So a lot of employers will Google you before they offer an interview, or like especially before they offer a job offer. You know, who exactly are they hiring to bring into this office? They want to see what comes up. So I definitely suggest that you Google your name and then toggle over to Google Image and like what images are showing up of you. And a lot of times, you know, the first ones are going to be your social media profile pictures. So like if you're job hunting, do you have a more family orientated Facebook picture and then a more business LinkedIn picture, but all of them are coming up on Google Image? So like maybe you want to change them to be all a little more cohesive. Same with choosing colors, like the color of your resume and cover letter header and the cover of your background of your LinkedIn could be the same color. Again, like totally free personal branding. I did this business for about 1.5 years, DIYing everything myself, like using Canva. And like at the beginning of this year, I spent like $2,500 on personal branding, hiring a personal branding expert that had meetings with me, diving into who my ideal clients are, blah, 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 helping me choose fonts and creating, you know, this kind of pattern wallpaper that I use on some of my social medias, as well as those lady profiles at the bottom of some of my slides. But I was in business for 1.5 years DIYing, not spending a dime. So you don't have to spend money to make your personal branding look cohesive. Oh, cool. I'm just catching up on the chat. Born in Michigan now. Also someone half German. Oh, okay. So I wonder, yeah. So Lena will be good for our German relatives to be able to pronounce. Okay, we'll go back to salary negotiation, not baby names. Let's dive into effective salary negotiation. So first we're going to discuss preparing, going to counter offering. I'll share my favorite tips and tricks. And then it's not super common that you need to de-escalate a situation, but I want you to be prepared if it comes your way. So this is pretty obvious, but a lot of the clients I work with, especially if they're meeting in person to negotiate, they feel embarrassed if they are planning to bring notes. They're like, I should be able to just do this. No, this is like a lot of stuff to remember in a situation where you're going to be nervous. Like I'm nervous when I negotiate my salary. It's totally reasonable to end up feeling flustered or nervous and forget things. And so have a professional looking notebook, bring notes. And then now in COVID times where almost everything is happening on Zoom, it's even easier to have notes. I mean, you can literally have piles of notes for your interviews, for your negotiation, and you can have them up on your screen and they don't even know it. For interviewing, especially, I tell a lot of my clients to create PowerPoint slides, put topics or themes up as the header, and then have bullet points of speaking points pre-prepared, because everyone's interviewing on Zoom right now, and you can have your Zoom up on one side and like your PowerPoint presentation over here, and they don't even know. It's so much easier than when you're interviewing in person, and you can have notes, but obviously you're not going to like flip to a different page every time they ask you a question. So in general, I think notes make you look prepared, professional. I think you should highlight 2 to 3 of your best leverage points that you're going to negotiate, your speaking points of why you're negotiating. We're going to dive into what leverage points are in a minute. And then just outline some questions that you want to make sure you don't forget to ask. Write them down. And then practice out loud for real, like not just in front of a mirror, but with somebody, a real live person. Practice your negotiation. You've got a job offer. You see what they're offering you. You've determined what you're going to ask for. Don't go into it blindly like a dress rehearsal. Like you should have the dress rehearsal beforehand. So every time you practice and it's awkward or uncomfortable, you're getting more comfortable for the real deal. The less you know someone, the better they are to practice with. So like, that's why a lot of clients will hire me because they don't know me. Like they follow me on Instagram, but I'm a total stranger and they're super nervous to talk with me and practice with me. And they get all that out with me instead of with their potential future boss. And like, you don't have to hire me. You could ask, instead of just practicing with your sister that you know very well, ask, your sister if you could practice with her best friend, or ask your best friend's husband or wife if you can practice with them. So someone like you've gone to birthday parties and barbecues with them, but you're much more comfortable with, your mutual connection than with this person you're going to practice. So I think every time you practice a sentence out loud with somebody, getting the nerves out, it just comes out more smoothly when you say it in real life. Just looking at my notes, I have more personal stories, but I think we started 5 minutes late, so I'm going to try and keep on track and skip ahead and not share my personal story there. If we have time at the end, I will. So counter offering. So you get the job offer, you're going to counter offer what the job offer comes as. These slides have a lot of words. If I were up on a stage doing a TED Talk style talk, I would have prettier, less wordy slides, but I just want you I'm not sure if you'll get a PDF of this at the end, or if you want, you can do like a quick screen grab or take a picture with your phone if you want to take notes without having to write these out. So that's why I'm so wordy on these slides, so that you don't have to take notes. So I want you to ask for the offer in writing. People love surprising you. Like you have a good interview and 2 days later you get a phone call and you're like, I'm job hunting, I have to answer the phone. Who knows who this could be? And they're like, hey, like we want to offer you the job. And you're like, oh, wow, cool, thanks. When's the start date? What's the salary? Okay, and they want you to accept it on the spot. I think can be a recruiter tactic to call you, and then you're excited for it, and you don't want to lose the job, so you accept on the spot. And I don't want you to do that because I want you to negotiate and not close that door. So I want you to act grateful, but not accept on the spot. Ask for it in writing. When they send it to you in writing, it'll probably be like an email with a PDF attachment. Reply and say, I acknowledge that you've received it. Thank you. Again, I'm excited at the opportunity, and I'll get back to you in 24 to 48 hours. Or if it's a Wednesday, I'll get back to you by the end of the week. If it's a Thursday, I'll get back to you by Monday, whatever you feel comfortable with. And you'll have this time to look over the details of the offer and determine what are you going to negotiate. And for the specific job, what are your leverage points, which again, we're going to dive into in a minute. And in that 24 to 48 hour period, if you have like a real quick question about anything that's missing, just quickly ask, call or email them and ask for clarification. You're not negotiating yet, but you're just asking for like supplemental information. I would say half of the clients I work with, they're missing big parts of information when they get that job offer. What about the health benefits? And then they're like, oh, here's the health benefits PDF, or here's the link to our company website with the health benefits. Like, they're always leaving these things off. So don't hesitate to ask for more clarification. And then once you see this job offer in writing, I want you to pick 2 to 4 topics to negotiate. These are all different. I'm just seeing a note from Elizabeth. 10 minutes remaining. Okay. I want you to pick 2 to 4 topics to negotiate. There's some sample things to negotiate. So here is a sample job offer. I would love if in the chat box you told me, like, what is your first, second, third priority to negotiate here? So again, this is not a full job offer. This is like, I took a job offer and I highlighted all the things that I think could be negotiable. And now I'm going to choose my priority. So I'm going to do this in the chat box too. Oops, that's new. Sorry, I just set a timer. Okay, so for mine, I'm going to put in this chat box. So mine, for a kind of recent job a couple of years ago, I started at my top was salary. I wanted a lot more money than they were offering. Second was start date, because I was interviewing, but I really only wanted to start this job in 2 months because I wanted to give my employer 2 weeks notice. And then I really wanted to go on a 6-week road trip. I was successful in negotiating that start date. They wanted someone ASAP. And I was like, if you want me, I'm free in 2 months, and negotiated that well. And then my hours, I'm a morning person. I wanted to work 6:30 to 3. I wanted to leave the office at 3 p.m. guilt-free, knowing I'd been there for, my 8 hours and my 30-minute lunch break. That's what I wanted to negotiate. So that's just a quick sample. If you want to just share yours in the chat box, I'll see those. But I will keep moving along since we have 10 minutes left. 2:15. Yep. Okay. So again, you're going to get it. This PDF is going to arrive. You're going to act excited and grateful. You've asked for it in writing. Sorry, this just got a little out of order, but you're going to print it out and highlight everything that you want to negotiate on. So that's kind of how I got that previous slide. All of the things you can negotiate, and then you're going to prioritize your speaking points of what and how you'll ask for more. So leverage points. What are your leverage points? What makes you worth more than that initial offer? What are you bringing to the table? Like, they are not just hiring you, they're hiring you and your past professional experience. They're hiring you and connections you have to the university that you're coming from, fellow alumni, or like fantastic people that are way up the career ladder already that you know through your university. Maybe you have some niche market insight from some past internship, or maybe you have some like specific software skill that your university had and you used it in a class, and their office is like super old school, stuck in time, and they've been meaning to switch over to that new software but never had anyone that knew it, and you know it, and they mentioned in the interview that they're excited that you have that. Like, that is a leverage point of yours for negotiating. So you want to, this is what I work with clients a lot, is just asking them all these kind of questions to pull out what are their leverage points. But you can do this on your own too. Just brainstorm, what are you bringing to the table? What's your whole package that sets you apart from other people? That could, who's their second choice and their third choice? You don't know who those people are, but you know generally what sets you apart. And you want to use those when negotiating. Another quick tip is just, you probably shop at a store that does a lot of price anchoring. We all know those stores where you never pay full price. Everything is always on sale, or like, you know, at the Gap or Old Navy, you know, they always have 20% off, but you know, at least 3 to 4 times a year, it's like 40 to 50% off. So you know you're not going to pay full price. So there's like this sample on the screen just about jeans and, you know, feeling good about buying them because you got them for 60 instead of 100. But like realistically, they were always $60 jeans. So the same when you're negotiating, you can toss out lines like, it's not like I'm asking for 105,000, but the 90 to 95,000 range is what I expected because of X, Y, and Z. And so X, Y, and Z are maybe some of your leverage points, you know, what you're bringing to the table, you know, because I'm bringing this connection, because I'm bringing the knowledge of this software, this experience, blah, blah, blah. This is what I was expecting. So by tossing out that higher number, it can make people laugh, lighten the mood. And it can also just make you, it'll make you feel less awkward saying 90 to 95 out loud when you're like, it's not like I'm asking for 105. This is also just negotiating basics. Maybe you've done it at like a garage sale before. You know, you ask for a number and you know they're going to go back and forth on it. So I want you, when you get an offer, to determine what is the lowest that you're willing to accept. And that number is not a number that you're like embarrassed about or sad about. It's like a number that you would still open a bottle of champagne for and be like, yeah, I got this job offer and I got this, you know, higher salary. So determine what that number is. And then you want to ask for more than that because you want to give them room to counter offer back. You know, so how much that range is going to vary case by case. Go with your gut, ask around, ask what, you know, peers think or what, you know, maybe some of your mentors think is a reasonable salary range for this, and ask at the upper end, knowing that they're going to come back in the middle, you know, hopefully in the middle, somewhere around there. And hopefully it's still more than the initial offer and equal to or greater than that number that you decided was the lowest you're willing to accept. I'm just going to skip over this slide because we're short on time. So I just want to say the last bullet point is important here. After you've negotiated, you can ask, you know, I want you to negotiate on the phone. I should say that too. They're going to email you things. If you email back a negotiation, think of how easy it is to say no to somebody if they ask you a favor via email. And if someone asks you a favor in person, it's much harder to say no, right? So in these COVID times where we're not meeting in person as much and more of this, you know, interviewing, job offer, or your performance review at your current job, these are all happening like with Zoom or phone calls. That's like the second best. Honestly, email is just the worst way to negotiate because you can't read the room, you can't feel the vibe, you can't help lead the conversation, and it's just easier for them to say no. So I want you to negotiate in person if possible, otherwise on the phone or via Zoom. So at the end of that call, you know, you can just say, can you send me an updated written offer? And look that over before you sign it, please. So just for de-escalating, just see if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box. We've got 3 minutes left. So I want to have time to answer those. But I'll just show the last couple slides. De-escalating, I like to have fluff questions. So when you're negotiating, you know, a salary and vacation time in your start date, I want you to insert some fluff questions between those. So you're not like, I want more money, I want more sick days, and I want, you know, to start in 2 months. I want you to ask rather about salary, and then ask the last 2 bullet points are like some sample fluff questions. They're easy to answer questions. They're not stupid questions. They're not you negotiating. They're asking like a factual question that you know whoever you're speaking to, it will be easy and comfortable for them to answer these. And it just helps keep the conversation flowing very nicely. So it's not like, I need, I want. It's like, okay, this is what I was expecting, what I want. And then I also have this other question. So think about what your fluff questions might be to kind of insert in between your negotiating. Just skipping ahead a little bit. Lastly, for de-escalating, be ready to switch lanes. This is, again, something you cannot do if you negotiate via email. A lot of my clients are so nervous to do this in person or on the phone. They're like, can I please just reply via email? Sure, you can. Of course, like, I'm not the negotiating police. You can, but it's not as effective. When you're speaking to somebody live, you can tell when things are getting tense. You can tell when things are getting awkward. If this happens, again, this is like more of a rare occurrence. I just want you to be ready if it does happen. So I want you to be able to switch lanes. If they're kind of trying to close the door, I want you to be like, I don't need a clear answer on that right now. Like, let's circle back to that later. Or if they're like, oh, geez, more sick days, I'd have to talk with Susan and HR and blah, 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 blah. They're trying to deflect and get you to be like, oh, never mind. Don't say, no, never mind. Say, I'm happy to discuss this again, like early next week. We don't have to conclude everything today. Like, let's see, I'm just reading a note from Elizabeth. Okay, we got to return to the room. Okay, so I don't see any questions in the question box. So go ahead and feel free to return to the room. Otherwise, I will just leave you with kind of why I think negotiating your salary matters. It matters a lot for all of you. There in the chat box again, it's just how to stay in touch with me. Oh, you're welcome, Katie. I'd love to see you on Instagram, join my Facebook group. I have an email newsletter every couple of weeks. You can unsubscribe anytime if you sign up, and then it's not your forte. So yeah, thank you so much for coming today. I think we were losing time as we progressed, so we didn't get the full 40 minutes that we were going to have together. As a whole, please negotiate. Message me if you have any questions as you're negotiating.